Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It is time for another true crime video yet again. And today we will be talking about the Valentine's Day cyanide poisoning of Ellie Tran. Ellie Tran was a 35-year-old immigrant from Vietnam who had big dreams. She went to the United States in hopes of a better future and she worked extremely hard. She was a manicurist at KT Nails, and the people around her described her to be hardworking and very kind. She was a single mother to her 2-year-old daughter Jolie and lived with her parents at the time. However, before this setup, Ellie was actually living with her 29-year-old husband, or should I say ex-husband, Joseph Merlino, Jolie's dad. Now, the two met sometime after Ellie arrived in the US and dated for years before deciding to move in with one another. When Ellie found out that she was pregnant, she told her parents right away, wanting her daughter to grow up with her grandparents around. Ellie's parents flew to the United States and lived with her husband Joseph, and her newborn daughter Jolie. And Joseph was not happy with this situation. He did not want his in laws living with them and was just so angry all the time. He would often lash out, and all of his anger seemed to be coming towards Ellie. Joseph was also incredibly controlling and even started to become abusive towards Ellie, who did nothing but try her best to make their living situation comfortable for everyone. The abuse at one point had gotten so bad that Ellie decided to file a complaint against Joseph. According to her, Joseph grabbed her by the neck and threatened her life. And in return, Ellie was given a restraining order against her husband. Now, she, baby Jolie, and her parents all moved out. And although she was already away from Joseph, Ellie lived in fear. She was scared for her life every single day, and she just had this gut feeling that he would someday somehow get back at her for taking their baby away from him. After multiple incidents of Joseph breaking into the Tran home, Ellie decided to install CCTV cameras inside and outside of the house. After this, Joseph then started to harass Ellie at her workplace, KT Nails. Now, during this time, Joseph already had a new girlfriend in China, but he couldn't let Ellie go because he wanted custody of Jolie. And even though Ellie was always scared of going outside, she had no other choice as she was the sole provider for the family, while her parents stayed at home to take care of baby Jolie. Ellie would often take extra shifts to make both ends meet. And she always feared that whenever she would step out of her home or her workplace, that Joseph would be there waiting for her. And this was true. He was trying to find the right time to attack her. Now, sometime during December 2016, when Ellie finished her shift at KT Nails and was about to go to her car and head home, a car backed up near her and a woman got out of the car and headed her way. Once Ellie realized that this was actually a man dressed in women's clothing, she tried to run. He then threw acid at her before making a run for it himself. Ellie was brought to the emergency room, and luckily she did not get hurt that much. The acid just damaged part of her hair, but she did later tell her friends that the cross-dresser who attacked her was indeed her ex-husband Joseph. Now, after this incident, Ellie became more paranoid than ever, understandably. If he was capable of doing this, what else was he capable of? Those were the questions running in Ellie's mind, and sadly, just 2 months later, she would get the answer to all of her questions. On February 14th, 2017, after Ellie's shift at the nail salon, her mother heard her pull up in their driveway, followed by screams. Once her mother got out, she saw Ellie on the ground clutching her leg in pain. Ellie's mother looked up and saw Joseph running away from the scene. She then helped her daughter get into the house, and this is when Ellie called 911 to ask for help. However, before she was even done with the call, she passed out, and her mother, who did not know how to speak English, somehow was able to manage to explain to the operator what happened. At this point, Ellie and her mother both thought that she had gotten shot on the leg. And when the ambulance arrived, Ellie was unconscious and sadly she would never wake up. Ellie Tran was declared brain dead by midnight and was taken off life support. She was only 35 years old and left behind her 2-year-old daughter Jolie. A post-mortem examination was conducted and it was discovered that Ellie had been jabbed on the leg with a syringe containing cyanide, which is highly lethal. And due to her mother's testimony, Joseph was taken in for questioning right away. He, of course, tried to get out of the situation with his defense lawyer claiming that it would be impossible for Joseph to have committed the crime as he was 2.5 to 3 hours away or 100 miles away at the time as he was visiting his stepbrother. But contrary to this, his cell phone records show that at the time of the attack, his cell phone was actually at Ellie's house. However, there were no messages sent nor calls made to confirm that he was there physically. The CCTV footages from the Tran home were also not the best quality, and his defense lawyer argued that it could have been someone else who had the same build as Joseph. And at first, Joseph grew confident. He actually thought that he was going to get away with this. However, as time passed, more and more evidence piled up against him. 2 new witnesses surfaced, one of them being the owner of his favorite local pizza place and the other being a woman from New Hampshire whom Joseph had a transaction with on Etsy. The pizza place owner told investigators that a few weeks prior to the incident, they had received a package that was meant for Joseph. Him and his staff were confused as to why Joseph would put their address instead of his own. But when they told him about the package, Joseph did not say anything. He just went into their kitchen, took the box, and left. Now, the woman from New Hampshire contacted the police as well, telling them that Joseph had actually purchased a vintage syringe from her Etsy store for $68 and asked her to have it delivered on the pizza place. Now, upon a quick search on his laptop, police found out that Joseph had searches regarding cyanide poisoning and different types of syringes. He was taken into custody and was charged with first-degree murder. After this, he went on a 2-month hunger strike where he lost 40 pounds in total. However, the jury does believe that he had only done so in order to look different from the man caught on the Tran family's CCTV camera. Now, from prison, Joseph also sent his mother and his Chinese girlfriend coded messages. And once these messages were uncoded, it was actually revealed that Joseph was asking his girlfriend to come up with a chat log for him to be able to use as an alibi. His trial started on June 2018, where he pleaded not guilty, sticking to his original story of being 100 miles away. He also argued that since he did own a mobile repair shop, at least 6 people had access to his laptop, and one of them could have made the searches about cyanide poisoning. Joseph Merlino was found guilty of the murder of Ellie Tran. But the story does not end there. On December 2018, everyone in the courtroom were shocked when Joseph entered for his sentencing. He was wheeled into court in an upright gurney-type wheelchair with a blanket covering him. He was foaming at the mouth, rocking side to side, and was unresponsive, almost catatonic. Because of this, his sentencing was postponed. According to his defense team, this was due to a mental condition brought on by the stress of being incarcerated. However, it was then revealed that all of these symptoms only started showing up on the morning of his sentencing and that this was nothing but an act. The following week, 29-year-old Joseph Merlino was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Ellie's parents ended up getting custody of their 2-year-old granddaughter, Jolie. She is a bit older now, and I really do hope that she is living a happy and somewhat normal childhood. But yeah, that's pretty much it for today's video. Happy Valentine's Day if you are celebrating. If you have a Valentine, good for you. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you guys on my next video.